Hey, welcome everybody. Here we are back in Montreal in 1979, and we're replaying the Mets versus the Expos. 79 Mets versus the 79 Expos. It's Pete Falcone for the Mets is going to be facing Scott Sanderson for the Expos. It's Falcone, a left-hander who was 6-14 with a 4.16 ERA in 79 versus Scott Sanderson, a right-hander who was 9-8 with a 3.43 ERA. So we're going to get started right away. We're using Payoff pitch, and we're using some dice and some cards. And I'm going to show you how to do that with the cards. And we're going to just shuffle them just a little bit here, and we're right about to get started. Seconds away from the action. Payoff pitch. Very, very smooth mechanics. All right. Let's get started, and we haven't played this for a couple weeks, I think. So we're going to see off the pitcher, Scott Sanderson, and that's an 8, so that's going to be a tough off the pitcher. And Mazzilli, batting from the left side, is a switch hitter, a 97. A 97 is going to be in the out range of a tough for sure. And that's a fly ball to left. On my right, I'm using iScore on an iPad, a 10-inch iPad, to keep track. I keep my, this is pretty much a chartless game, so the charts are under the table. Now let's do that one more time. Fly ball to left field. Out on left is Warren Cromartie, makes the catch. One down. Here goes the roll to Sanderson. That's a 7 in play 59. And in play 59 is going to be an outrange grounder to second base. Rodney Scott there. And throws out Chapman. Next is the left-hander Richie Hebner. That's a 9. That's going to be ballpark. And we rolled a 95, so that's going to be in play. Goes up to 1 to 49. And in play 69. In play 69 is going to be an outrange grounder to short, Chris Spire. And throws out Hebner for out number 3. 3 up, 3 down for Scott Sanderson here in the top of the first. Montreal, 1979. For the Mets, it's Pete Falcone. It's a 6. That's going to be tough. A tough 44. A tough 44 is going to be a versus a lefty is going to be a 60 up to 67 as a strikeout. So that's a K. Curveball got him. Rodney Scott next. Andre Dawson took some big swings there. Rodney Scott, switch hitter, batting from the right side. That's a 9. That's patient. A patient 71. Oh, and that's right outside of the patient range. He takes us to the out range. It's a grounder to second. Kelvin Chapman is there. Throws him out. 2 away. Now it's the left-handed hitting Warren Cromartie. Lefty versus lefty. 5. 5 is a ballpark, a 0-7, a ballpark 0-7. Left-handed batter. It's in the wheelhouse. So in the wheelhouse, we're looking versus the lefty 1 to 12 for it to be gone. See what happens. And that's an out range for sure. It's way out of the wheelhouse range, 78. And that's going to be a fly ball to deep center field. But Mazzilli runs it down for out number 3. So 3 up, 3 down for both sides. Go to top of the second. We got started right away on this game. Okay, here's the pitch from Scott Sanderson. That's a 5. That's a patient 91. That's in the out range, and that's going to be a grounder to short. Chris Spire. 1 away. Throws out the hustling John Stearns. Good catcher with good speed. had a 20 stolen bases multiple times in his career. And it's Willie Montanez, left-handed batter, first baseman. And that's a 9 ballpark. Montanez, a lefty, it's a 48, right in the wheelhouse by 1. Left-handed batter, so wheelhouse against a righty is going to be 1-11. And that's a 32, and that's going to be a line drive base hit single for Willie Montanez. He's on at first. He's no threat to steal. Montanez is a 2, so we rolled 2 dice. If it's an 11, he would steal. He doesn't. And here's the pitch. It's a 7. That's going to be in play to Steve Henderson, a right-hander, 69. And in play 69. And that's going to be a ground ball, second base. And we're going to see now the 7 we rolled is under the double play for the batter and above the double play for the pitcher. So that means it's just a fielder's choice. And the 69 was ground ball, second base, flips to Spear, but there's no time. There's no throw to first on that, but it will be a fielder's choice. So it's 4-6. Runner at second is out. Steve Henderson is at first, and again, he's a 4 actually, so we're going to roll, see if he steals. At 13 stolen bases, nope. And it's Bruce Beauclair, bats left, playing right field today for the Mets. That's a 10. That's going to be a tough 78. It's going to take us into the out range, and that's going to be a fly ball to center for out number 3. So Beauclair flies out to Andre Dawson. And the Mets leave 1 there in that situation. No score. Go to the bottom of the second. It's Pete Falcone. Pete Falcone, going to roll for Falcone, a left-hander. 6, that's tough. A tough 66. Tough 66 against a lefty is a ground ball, second base, Kelvin Chapman. Covers good ground. Throws out Ellis Valentine, another right-hander, Tony Perez. He was part of the Big Red Machine in the 70s, in the mid-70s, early 70s, late 60s. It's a 5. That's a ballpark. And he's a right-handed batter. That's a 25. It goes all the way to 68 here at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. So that's going to be in Tony Perez's wheelhouse. And versus a lefty, he's a 1-23, and that ball is launched out of the park. And that's a 55, and that's going to be out of the range, and that's going to be a grounder to third. Richie Hebner feels it, cross to Montanez for out number 2. Gary Carter. He was part of that big 1986 Mets season, so he doesn't know it, but he will be, the Mets are in his future. 8, that's going to be patient on Falcone. A 69, a patient 69 against a lefty. It's going to take us to the out range, and that's a grounder to second base. Chapman again has an opportunity. He's had quite a few here in the first couple of innings. First few innings, if you will. And it's Doug Flynn for the Mets. Scott Sanderson takes the mound. Doug Flynn batted .259 versus lefties, .236 versus righties. And that's a 7. That's in play. An in play 29. An in play 29 is outside of the hit range, and that takes us to a pop-up to the right side. Perez calls for it, makes the catch, 1 away. Top of the order now. Actually, no, you know what? I never pulled a card for Falcone. Let's do that. He's a 5. So a pitcher hitting card, that's what they use here. Pitcher hitting card 5. So we're going to roll. It's an 8, which is tough. A 77, a tough 77. That's a strikeout. Falcone down on strikes for out number 2. And now it's Lee Mazzilli. Sanderson, a 6. That's tough. A tough 24. A tough 24 is going to be a strikeout. So Mazzilli Goes after the high hard one, the high hard cheese, and he walks back to the dugout. Pete Falcone, pitching for the Mets, had a pretty awful season. 6-14, 6-14 with a 4.16 ERA. He's going to face Larry Parrish. Larry Parrish is the third baseman for the Expos. That's a 6. That's tough. A tough 36. A tough 36 against a lefty is a strikeout. Hey man, who's there? 79 Mets, real bad year for them. Didn't they lose 100 games? Yeah, I guess. Not sure. I don't want to even think about it. 36, what was that? Strikeout, right? What do we say? Yeah, strikeout. Strikeout swinging. Parrish. Curveball got him. Spire, or Spear, still don't know how to pronounce that name. And it's an 8 now. It's Patient. A Patient 62 versus a lefty, and that's going to be a walk. So Spear on base. I called him Spire, I called him Spear, but I think it's Spire actually. Chris Spire. Now, is he a threat to steal? Let's take a look. No, not at all. 0-0. No stolen bases, no caught stealing. It's going to be Sanderson. We haven't pulled a pitcher's card for him, and he's also a 5, so we got to pull another 5 here out of the deck. There it is. But he's going to bunt right now. And we're going to take a look at what kind of bunting numbers he has, and you can see on his card. He's a bunter C. That's what that is, I believe. It's a bunter C. And he's a batting card 5, righty batter, bunter C. So we're going to pull a card, and that's how easy it is to use these cards. You put and you look, bunting C, and they get the lead runner. Okay. So I'm not going to worry about exactly how they get the lead runner. Oh, it says sacrifice bunt to the catcher. So there you go, at the bottom. So it's 2. Say it's 2-6. The bunt is just not nearly far away enough from the catcher, and he picks it up, John Stearns, and guns it to second base. Doug Flynn is there for the force. So they force Spire at second base. So that's going to be a fielder's choice, if you will. 2-6, and that'll be a force. So Sanderson fails miserably on that bunt attempt. Here it's Andre Dawson, good power, 25 home runs on the season, only 4 against lefties. So that's a 5. That's going to be a ballpark, and that's a 34. He's a right-hander, so that's going to be in the wheelhouse versus a lefty. It's a 1-26. So that's fairly generous, 26% chance of hitting a home run here for Andre Dawson. 2 outs, and runner on first. Scott Sanderson is on at first, and that's a 75. So that's outside the wheelhouse range, and it's a fly ball, deep center field, excuse me. And Mazzilli back to the track and makes a nice running catch. So he connected. He drove that ball. It just didn't have the oomph to get over the wall. And that's we go to the top of the 4th now. And it's Sanderson against Kelvin Chapman. Kelvin Chapman, extremely light-hitting Mets infielder who doesn't play many games. He has 80 at-bats. And that's a great thing about Payoff pitches. They include all these guys that were fringe types pretty much until you get really, really, really low for like guys with 3 at-bats. Then you have to print out fringe players. But I'm not at that point yet. And you'll find that in the older seasons, you don't do that as much as you do in the newer seasons. So they tended to stick to the same guys throughout the season, the same lineup. So it's kind of easier to replay. You don't have to make a lot of changes constantly. All right, so that's a 10, so that's tough. A tough 21. A tough 21 is going to be a strikeout. So Kelvin Chapman down swinging, went after that fastball, the high heat. Richie Hebner grounded out his first at bat. That's a 3, that's a tough. A 91, a tough 91, that's in the out range. That's a grounder, chopped to second. Rodney Scott. 2 away. As John Stearns, right-handed hitting catcher. It's a 7. That's in play, an 84. In play, 84. And that's a grounded short. Spear throws him out. 3 up, 3 down for the Mets here. And Pete Falcone is going to face Rodney Scott. Now, Rodney Scott had pretty good speed, pretty good, maybe an understatement, 39 stolen bases in 79. So if he gets on, he's definitely going to be running. So that's an 8. That's patient. And 65, a patient 65 is a single grounder up the middle and through to center field. That pumps up the crowd. You can hear them cheering in the background. And Rodney Scott is a 6 steal, so that means I'm going to roll 2 dice, and if it's a 6 or less, he goes, and then he'll be a B, and then we'll look at the catcher's arm, and I'll look at that right now, so I don't have to worry about it. I think Stearns is a, you remember these, Stearns is a 3 arm, so he doesn't have a great arm, doesn't have a bad arm. So let's see if we can get a 6 or less, and then he'll be going, and that's going to be a 5, so he does. There he goes, and then we're going to look at this chart right here. What did we say it was a 3, a B3? 3B is right there, and that's very good. So we're going to pull a card. So we know he's very good at base stealing. We're going to pull a card, and right here, the stealing portion says very good. Stolen base plus an E2. Plus an E2. So we roll 1 die. If it's higher than the E rating, let's look at that right here. If it's higher than Stearns' E rating, it's an error. And his E rating is a 3. So if it's higher than that, if the roll is higher than that, it's an error. And the runner goes to third, which is kind of cool. So let's roll, see what happens. And it's a 2, so it's lower, so there's no error. Okay? And I did that from memory, so I hope I played that right. I don't feel like looking at the chart right now, but I will double check, and you guys may tell me, or somebody will watch this, and they'll be like, oh, you did that wrong. So Rodney Scott is in at second with a stolen base. Steals second. And single and a stolen base for Scott. That was the first hit by the Expos, by the way. And it's Warren Cromartie, left-handed hitting outfielder. Cromartie plays left field for the Expos. He batted .310 versus lefties, so he's going to be trouble for Falcone. And that's a 9. That's a patient. A patient 72. That's in the out range, and that's going to be, we're using a modifier. That's going to be line to short. Caught by Doug Flynn. Line drive to short. And next is Ellis Valentine. 1 out now. Rodney Scott takes his lead off second. Falcone looks him back. Sets and deals. That's a 5. That's ballpark. Valentine's a righty. That's a 10. So that's going to be wheelhouse. Wheelhouse for Valentine against a left-handed pitcher is a 1/61. I don't think Falcone is going to get by without allowing Ellis Valentine to crank one out here. So a 1/61 is going to be a home run versus a left-handed pitcher on Ellis Valentine's card. Ellis Valentine hit 21 home runs, but he pounded lefties. In other words, he had 94 at-bats against lefties, and he hit 7 home runs. So had he, pitched only against lefties, and you just do the proportions, he would have had 42 home runs on the season. And that's a deep drive, deep to left field. Back goes Steve Henderson to the track, to the wall, looks up. It's out of here. Ellis Valentine connects with a deep one, and Pete Falcone wishes he had that pitch back. It's a 2-0 Montreal lead here in the bottom of the 4th. The crowd is mysteriously silent. I guess they'll yell out when we least expect it. All right, so it's Tony Perez now. It's 2-0 Expos, and that's a 9. That's patient. We're looking patient. We're looking at 76. That's outside. The range is fly ball lifted to center. High fly to center. Mazzilli in a couple of steps. Puts it away. That's 2 outs now. Pete Falcone to Gary Carter, the right-handed hitting catcher. That's a 7. That's a tough. A tough 43 against a lefty. It's going to be outside the hit range, into the out range. That's going to be popped up left side of the field. Doug Flynn calls everybody off and makes the catch. But the damage has been done. 2 hits, 2 runs, none left. And the Expos lead the Mets by a score of 2-0. Go to the top of the 5th. This game's moving along. Scott Sanderson against Willie Montanez, who singled his first time up. That's a 3. That's tough. A tough 69. It's going to be outrange, and that's going to be a grounder to short. Chris Spear throws him out. Next is Steve Henderson. That's an 11 defense. I'll show you how this works. 86 on defense. I'm not going to even bother to look because that's whether it's a range check or an error check. It's outside the range. There's nothing that would be either a range hit or a range error. It's going to be an out for sure. We're going to see who the out goes to, and we use a card for that. We look second base, so it's a grounder to second. There's a way of, actually it tells you here what kind of out. Infield, second base. It says grounder. Could be a line drive or a pop-up, but in this case it's a ground ball and runners advance, but there's nobody on. That's how it works. So everything's off your card. You don't have to go to charts. It's amazing. All right, so that was a ground out to second base, and that's the second out. 2 outs now, and it's going to be Bruce Beauclair. Beauclair is a lefty hitting outfielder. He had 98 at bats with the Mets, batted 182 from the left side, 184 from the right side. So obviously he didn't get a lot of at bats because he wasn't producing. Scott Sanderson, the pitch, that's a 4. That's patient. A 97, a patient 97 outrange, and that's a fly ball lifted to right field. Ellis Valentine over to the line a few steps, makes the catch for out number 3. So Mets, as you guys were mentioning, were not very good in 79, but all right, let's see what's going on here. That's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. All right, here goes. P. Falcone. It's a 5. That's ballpark again. 27, a righty. That's going to be wheelhouse. Wheelhouse for Parrish against the lefties, 1-16. And that's a tough one. Going to re-roll that. It's kind of 61 against a lefty. That's going to be in the out range. That's going to be a fly ball lifted to right field. Back goes Beauclair, makes the catch. Bruce Beauclair. Chris Spear, whatever his name is. Got to look that up. I will for the next game. And here's the pitch. It's a 6. That's tough. Off of the left side, 0-3, a tough 0-3 strikeout. Down on strikes, curveball got him. Nice curveball by Falcone. And now it's the pitcher, Scott Sanderson, 9. That's patient, and he's a 5, an 83. A patient 83 is going to be in the out range, way in the out range. Ground ball short. Doug Flynn guns it to first, and I don't think Sanderson was even running on that play. It's out by a mile. All right, leading it off for the Mets is Doug Flynn. We are in the top of the 6th. 9, that's ballpark. A 79 ballpark is going to be in play. That's outside the ranges. 71 an in play, 71, that's an out. It's going to be a fly ball center. Next is Falcone. That's a 7 in play. An in play 26. An in play 26 is an out. It's going to be a pop-up catcher. Gary Carter there waits for it. Oh, snow cone makes the catch. But it looked like it was going to pop out of his glove there for a split second. Luckily, he used 2 hands on that. Lee Mazzilli, 2 outs here. It's a 9, ballpark. And we rolled a 95. That's going to be in play because that's out of the ballpark range. 64 and in play 64. That's an out. It's going to be a pop-up to first base. Tony Perez using the modifier on this one. You can find that on Sideline Strategies Delphi or Sideline Strategy Delphi. Pop-up first baseman. And that's all she wrote. Andre Dawson steps in the box versus Pete Falcone. Falcone's still in there. Now, both these pitchers can go until the 7th, so they're still good. But they haven't given up more than 3 runs, so they are still good, whether they are in the 7th or not. Andre Dawson, Pete Falcone, 4 wheelhouse for Dawson, 1-26, and that ball is gone. And that's a 23. That's a deep drive to left field. Back goes Henderson to the track, to the wall. It's out of here. Andre Dawson connects, and we're going to double check that. 4 on Falcone is wheelhouse. He's batting against a lefty, so it's 1-26. We rolled a 23, and that ball is gone. Andre Dawson gets a hold of one. Falcone wishes he had that pitch back, and the Expos lead it 3-0. Expos have a pretty good ball club here. Nobody out. There's action in the Met bullpen right now, because with 3 runs allowed, now he actually becomes fatigued in the 7th inning. So that's an 8. That's patient. And that's an 86, a patient 86, out range, grounder to short. Flynn to his left, guns it to first. Scott is out, got him by half a step. Boy, that Rodney Scott can really hustle down that line. Warren Cromartie, 1 out. That's a 4, that's a wheelhouse. An 11 versus a lefty, that's a deep drive to right field. Bruce Beauclair back to the track, looks up, that's out of here. Warren Cromartie connects versus Pete Falcone, and it's 4-0 Montreal now. So Falcone giving up the gopher ball, and he's not shy about it. And it's Ellis Valentine with 1 out. 4, again, a wheelhouse. This time it's going to be a 1-61 versus Ellis Valentine, who's already homered. This could be his 2nd shot. And that's a deep drive to left field. Back goes Henderson to the track, to the wall. And that's out of here. Ellis Valentine, number 2 on the day, connects. And that's the 3rd home run in this inning off of Pete Falcone. And here comes the manager. I believe it's Joe Torre, the manager in 79. That looks like Joe Torre. Let me get my binoculars. And that's a home run there. So it's 5-0 now. And that's going to be it for... And let me show you, little by little, as I play these teams, I pull the cards and I put them into these jackets. These are just regular baseball card jackets. You can get them really cheap, 100 for about $1.50. And that'll protect the cards forever. And just don't leave them in the heat, especially if it's like a really hot desert place, because then it'll melt onto your card. All right, so the Mets, we're going to find the Mets here. Where are they? We're going to bring somebody in. Let's take a look quickly at the roster for that day so I can see who played. Let's see. On that day for the Mets, pitchers were Murray and Lockwood. So we're going to bring in Murray. I'm going to bring in Murray, and you can see the plethora of pitchers that Payoff Pitch sends you when you order. Dale Murray, got probably 20 pitchers there. So Murray's going to come in. He's a right-hander. He was 4-8 with a 4.82 ERA. So out goes Falcone to the showers. Adios, Pete. And it's going to be Murray now. And he's going to be a... let me see. Do we have to pull a double switch? I don't know. Hold on. Let me check real quick. I'll put him in 9, but I may pull a double switch and go back. Okay. Let me see. Who is up last? Who's up first for the Mets? Kelvin Chapman. No, it's the top of the order. Good. Okay. So it works out. All right. I don't have to do a double switch. Tony Perez. Here's the pitch from Dale Murray to the righty, Tony Perez. That's a 7. That's a tough 23, and that's going to be a strikeout. Curveball got him. Gary Carter, 2 outs. It's a 4. That's in play. A 27. In play 27 is lined. Base hit to left field. Henderson gets it in. And that's a single for Gary Carter. So 2-out runner on first. And is Gary Carter a threat to steal? 5 stolen bases. We can roll. He needs a 3. Nope, not gonna be. And Parrish, Larry Parrish, who's 0 for 2, struck out and flied out. That's a 7. That's tough. A tough 47. Tough 47 is gonna be strikeout. High hard one. The cheese gets him. And that's all she wrote. For the bottom of the 6th for the Expos, they get 3 big runs on 3 big hits, 3 home runs in that inning, and they take a 5-0 lead against the Mets. It's gonna be Chapman leading it off. Let's say 12. That's a wheelhouse. Chapman has nothing against righties in the wheelhouse. 97. It's a fly ball, weak fly ball to left field. Ron Cromartie is there. I don't see much of a future for Kelvin Chapman on this team this year. He won't last more than a week or 2 more. And that's a 2 wheelhouse for Richie Hebner against a righty. Hebner's 1-22, and that's a 0-6. So that's a deep drive to right field. Ellis Valentine going back, and that's out of here. That's a second decker. Good shot. I don't even know if this Olympic Stadium has a second deck. I don't know what it looks like out there. But anyway, it would have been a second decker if this stadium doesn't have a second decker. And it's 5-1 now. So Richie Hebner gets a hold of one, and we'll double check that real quick. We rolled a 2. It's a wheelhouse on Sanderson. Let me bring this down. Got to kind of put something up here to tell me, hey, you're passing. It's a wheelhouse, and then it's a 0-6 versus a righty, and it goes all the way to 22. So Richie Hebner connects, home run. 5-1. And next is Scott Sanderson pitches to John Stearns, 9. That's a ballpark. And that's a 30-39 against a righty. That's going to put it in the wheelhouse. So let's look at his wheelhouse. John Stern is a 1-14 wheelhouse. And, oh, that's a 66. That's not even going to be near a hit. And that's a grounded to second. Rodney Scott throws him out for out number 2. And now we have Willie Montanez, who's 1 for 2. The pitch from Sanderson, that's a 6, tough. A tough 13, and that's a strikeout. Montanez looks at strike 3. Should maybe be protecting, but I guess he has a different batting philosophy. Dale Murray pitching for the Mets against Chris Spear. We are in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Take me out to the ballpark time. That Demo Dave would probably sing it for us. Here's the pitch, and that's an 11. That's defense. So we're gonna see. I'll show you how. 21. That's gonna definitely. We're gonna have to pull a card to see what that's all about. That's gonna be error pitcher. The pitcher is a fielding 4, right? Because that was an error, so it's a fielding 4. So we're gonna look over here under 4, and it's a 1-21. We rolled a 21, so it's gonna be an E1, and we'll check what kind of error that is. An error, pitcher error, where it is right here. It's a 1 base error, okay? So Spear is on at first on the error by Murray. And Spear had no stolen bases, so he's not even going to attempt. 5-1 ball game. We are going to see a bunt right now, and we decided that Sanderson was a C bunter, so we're going to pull a card and see if we're successful this time. He wasn't last time, and he is. Sacrifice hit to the pitcher, so it's going to be 1-4. And over to second goes Spear. No. Sacrifice bunt. Over to my right, I'm using iScore to keep track of data and so forth. Okay, so Andre Dawson now. Pitch to Dawson, that's a 7. That's a tough 72. It's going to be in the out range. That's going to be fly ball center field. Shallow center. Coming in is Mazzilli. Back to second is Spear. And it's Rodney Scott now, second baseman. And that's a 9. That's going to be ballpark. A ballpark 15. And that's going to be wheelhouse for the switch hitter batting lefty. Wheelhouse. And versus a righty, he's got no wheelhouse. No wheelhouse home run. He's got double and triple and single. And that's a 72. That's outside the range. That's going to be a line drive caught by the second baseman, Chapman. And that'll end the inning. Oh. Yeah, it's going to be an out. Line drive caught by second base. Boom. Okay. Steve Henderson is going to lead it off for the Mets here in the top of the 8th inning. It's 5-1 Expos using payoff pitch. Doing a mini tutorial. Let's get that in view. Make sure that's in view. And Stevie Henderson now. He ends up with Oakland or Seattle or both. I'm not sure. He ends up somewhere in the American League. You know, there was a lot of there were high expectations for him when he started with the Mets, but he hit a bunch of home runs in the short time the first season. But after that, he kind of fizzled out. Stevie Henderson, more of a singles hitter, patient. And that's going to be 0-1. That's going to be a base on ball. So Henderson gets on base, works the count, gets on base. And Henderson's on at first, Bruce Beauclair. And that's a 10, so that's a tough. A tough 67, that's going to be a strikeout. Beauclair down on strikes. One away, and Doug Flynn now. And that's an 11, and that's defense. We're going to see what that becomes. A 56. An 11.56, so we're going to have to pull a card here. We're going to pull a card here. It tells us E5, so we're going to look at the third baseman. Third baseman is Larry Parrish. We'll look and see what he is. An E, he's a 3, so we rolled a 56. So under the 3, it's 1 to 29 would be an error, so it's outside the error range. We're going to see what kind of out it is to the third baseman. It's a pop out. It's an out to the third base, so it's popped up to the left side, and there is Parrish, makes the catch, out number 2, and now it's going to be Murray, the pitcher, and we're going to have a pinch hitter. I'm going to take a quick peek at see who pinch hit in this game. Cranepool's going to come up. Ed Cranepool, he's a long-time Met. I don't think he ever played with anybody other than the Mets, and he's here somewhere. We should be already protected in a. No, he's not. We're going to protect little Ed Cranepool. I think he's from the Bronx. The Bronx, New York. And he played with the Mets for his whole career. And never did really much outside of being a utility type platoon player. So he's going to come in and he's going to bat pinch hit for Murray. So Ed Cranepool bats for Murray. And now here's the pitch from Sanderson. That's a 3, tough. So we're looking at tough. 33 to 45 is going to be a hit. And we have a 57. That's outside the range. It's going to be a fly ball lifted to left field. And that's going to be Warren Cromartie there for out number 3. So we're going to have a new pitcher for the Mets. And who do we say came in? Skip Lockwood. Actually pitched 3 innings in this game. He's not going to do that here because we don't have 3 innings left. But 5-1 game. Skip Lockwood is going to replace. Let's do all that. Cranepool's out. He's out of the game. Pitcher's out of the game. Mazzilli will be leading off next. Murray's out of the game, and it's going to be Warren Cromartie. It's going to be. Let's see, Skip Lockwood versus Cromartie. Here's the pitch from Lockwood. That's a 3. That's patient. A patient 0-4, I guess, is a base on balls. So Lockwood walks Warren Cromartie, and it's Ellis Valentine. Ellis Valentine's 2 for 3. He's grounded out and homered twice. And that's a 5. That's patient. And a 79. A patient 79. It's going to be the out range. And that's going to be a fly ball lifted to center. Mazzilli there. 1 away. Back to first. Goes Cromartie. Perez is 0 for 3. That's a 6. That's tough. A tough 0-1. And that's a strikeout. Perez. Curveball gets him. And it's Gary Carter with 2 outs now. Cromartie on at first. I never actually try to run Cromartie, and I should. Let's see. We can do that now. Yeah, We'll use that roll for run. It's no run. So let's roll again for Gary Carter. It's a 10. It's ballpark for Carter. This is could be trouble. See what happens. He's a righty, so over here on the stadium card, it's 1/68. So if we roll within that, it's gonna be wheelhouse, and that's a 96. So we're in play. So that's good news for Skip Lockwood. And we roll a 70. That's in the out range, and that's gonna be a ground to second. And Chapman flips to Flynn for out number 3. So we're gonna do a 4-4-6 on that third out. And Lee Mazzilli is going to step in the box versus Scott Sanderson. Here in the top of the 9th inning, there's action in the Montreal bullpen, just in case. But we always love to see. Now, Scott Sanderson had 5 complete games. He didn't complete this one. So he, you know what? We may just pull him just for reality sake. Sosa, Fryman, Palmer, there's a lot of guys that pitched in this game. And I'm sure I have them all here. Sosa, Elias Sosa, 62 games. Gonna bring him in. So we're gonna bring in Elias Sosa here. 2-hitter. He's pitched a 2-hitter. You know what? I feel bad. Let's let Scott Sanderson try to get this 2-hitter. Let's see what happens. That's my nostalgia. My speaking. All right, here goes to Mazzilli. That's a 9 ballpark. And we're going to have to roll here, 72. That's outside the ballpark range on both lefty or righty batter. So it's going to be in play. And it's a 25, and that's line, base hit, center field for Lee Mazzilli. Leads off the inning with a hit. And let's see what happens now. We're going to have a pinch hitter for Chapman. Another pinch hitter in this game was Youngblood, Joel Youngblood. He's in here somewhere. Let's find him, Joel Youngblood. I think he was towards the end. Was he not? No. There he is. Joel Youngblood, right-hander. He's going to bat for Chapman. He can actually play second base as well. He plays almost every position there. All right, so here comes Youngblood. Youngblood batted .273 versus righties. Much better than the 136 that Chapman batted. So Youngblood actually has about 400 bats with the Mets in this season. Actually, he has 500 bats, so he plays a lot. Close to 600 bats. All right, so here's Joe Youngblood. Bats right versus Scott Sanderson. Nobody out here in the top of the 9th. And that's a 7. That's in play. An in-play 50, we'll see what that becomes. An in-play 50 is out of range. It's going to be in the out range. It's going to be a ground ball to third base. We rolled an 8. That's outside the range. So it's going to be a fielder's choice. It's going to be 5-4. And back to first, not in time. So runner at second is forced out. So 1 away now. And Chapman's out of the game. Pull up that card. Richie Hebner, who's homered. He's 1 for 3. That's an 8. It's tough. A tough 37. A tough 37 is going to be a... Now we're going to read off the card because this tells you where the runners advance to. Soft blooper into short. He's a lefty, so it's going to be short right field. Runners on first advances 2 bases. Okay, so that's how you do your base running. So it's going to be a single, and over to third goes Youngblood. So you have first and third now, and John Stearns the batter, and that's going to be it. We're going to get this is a save opportunity. We're going to find out who. 18 saves for Sosa. Sosa's coming in. Sosa's going to pick up a save here. And let me see. Sosa, where is he? There he is. Boom. Sosa's in there. Now Sosa is a right-handed relief pitcher, pitched in 62 games. We had an 8-7 record with a 1.96 ERA and 18 saves in 96 innings. Gave up only 2 home runs in almost 100 innings. So he's a safe bet for getting us out of this jam. It's a fan favorite here, as you can tell. Crowd woke up a little bit when he came in. So here's the pitch. And that's a 2. That's a ballpark. And that's a 10. So that's going to be a righty ballpark. That's within the 1-68 range. So versus a righty, Stearns is 1-14. John Stearns 1-14, and he cranks one. And that's a 69, so that's going to be a 69. That's out of the wheelhouse range. 69. It's going to be a ground ball second base, and that's going to be a double play for sure because we rolled a 2 on that. We rolled a 2, and it was a 69. That was a, yeah, this is going to be 4, 6, 3, double play, game over. The Expos win. The Expos win. And Elias Sosa picks up a save. The win goes to Sanderson, who pitched a pretty good game, to say the least. Ground ball, 4, 6, 3, double play. Runner on third. What happened to the runner that was on third base? Nothing. Held up. Runner on first is out at second on the double play. Game over. I'll give you a line score. Line score real quick. I think we did really well in this game. 45 minutes. And I did a lot of talking. And I stopped a bunch of times. Line score, Mets, my 79 Metsies, 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error, 3 left on base. The Expos, 5 runs, 6 hits, 0 errors, and 4 left on base. And there was a bunch of home runs hit by the Expos. I think they hit 4 home runs or 5 home runs. I'd have to go back and look at the scorecard. I can do that right now and tell you. Yeah, they hit 4 home runs, 3 in an inning. Ellis Valentine hit 2, not in that inning, but in the game. But in the 6th inning, there was a home run by Dawson, a home run by Cromartie, and a home run by Valentine. That was exciting. And that's when Murray came in right after the home run to Valentine. He replaced Falcone. So Falcone hung in there until the 4th inning when he gave up a couple of runs on it was a single and a stolen base, and then it was a 2-run shot by Ellis Valentine in that 4th inning. And but then he got 5 consecutive outs, and then it was the 6th inning that was his undoing when he gave up a leadoff homer to Andre Dawson. Rodney Scott grounded out, and then Warren Cromartie and Ellis Valentine connected back-to-back jacks. And that was all she wrote. Now, as you can see, payoff pitch is extremely smooth sailing. In today's game, I never looked at the charts. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I did look at this chart, the base stealing chart, to figure out what Rodney Scott was. And he was a B3 with the catcher's arm. So I did look at that, but after I knew that, I didn't have to look anymore. So that was one chart lookup. So I guess, would it be fair to say 99% is off the cards? But it's, anyway, so be it. I really like the fast action cards and the dice, and it works really cool. And it's one of my favorite games. It's real smooth sailing. It's just a real nice mechanic. And that's all she wrote for tonight. I'm going to set up another game. I'll probably play another game at 5 a.m. before I go off to work. So I want to get back to relaxing. I'm going to watch a movie called, what's it called? Shutter Island, I believe it is. I left that on there. I'm going to watch Shutter Island. I saw it a bunch of years ago. I'm going to try watching it again, but I usually get bored and fall asleep. And that's it. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you guys